Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am Audra Mitchell, Vice President, Group Learning and Development, and the General Manager of the Massy Learning Institute. I'm so excited, I'm stumbling over my words. And today I'm wearing the hat of moderator for our exciting session entitled Working in the Gig Economy. Now, before we go further, we really want to have your engagement and have you be a part of this experience. So we want to invite you to put your comments into the comment section and your questions into the Q&A box, because we don't want to miss your comments and we certainly want to see your questions. And it is our hope to get through as many of our questions today as possible. So joining me today as we explore this topic, this working in the gig economy, are three amazing women whom I have the privilege to know and to welcome. And it's no small coincidence that next month we celebrate International Women's Day, right? And we have a powerhouse of women here with us today. So they are Aaisha Martin, CEO of Skillpik and former Massy Limited employee. We have Elena Dyer, co-founder and CTO of Workii, also another former Massy Tech employee. And we have Julie Avey, our co-founder of Nudge Caribbean, on our SVP People and Culture at Massy. Ladies, welcome. It is a pleasure to have you here today. So as we begin our conversation, just wanted to set the context around, what we'll be discussing today. So we've all seen, known, felt the impact of the disruption that's taking place. So it's no secret that traditional work continues to be disrupted as a result of the fourth industrial revolution, digitalization era, and then with the added impact of the effects of the pandemic and the economic fallout. So individuals and organizations have to find creative ways to create sustainability for a future that is rapidly changing. So therefore, in this hour, we will explore the evolution of gig working and professional services that is occurring globally and in the Caribbean in a response to this changing landscape. We'll also be discussing options for working persons. So those who are in a job looking to either supplement their income or in instances of displacement due to company reorganization and restructuring, who may not be in a job, unfortunately. And what we're also going to do this morning is we're going to hear about two companies by two brilliant entrepreneurs, Workii and Skillpik, that offer a solution through their platforms to support individuals navigating this challenging landscape. So based on all that I've said, I hope you're excited as I am as we get into it. So as we start now, I want to hear from our panelists. So I want to start the conversation around the disruption traditional work. So I'll turn to you, Julie. I'll start with you. So Julie, you wear two hats, an executive at Massy, SVP People and Culture, and also co-founder of Nudge Caribbean, a business that supports and showcases entrepreneurs. I want to find out from you, what have you been observing as relates to this disruption of traditional work, juxtaposed with the entrepreneurship experience, which is Nudge Caribbean? What do you see when you look through your lens?
Gosh, good morning, Audra. Good morning, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here with you this morning. Congratulations on these Level Up webinars. They really are fabulous and a huge support to our group and to those that join us from outside of the MassyGroup. So with regard to the disruption to traditional work that's been highlighted, whether it's from the fourth industrial revolution or from COVID, there's a few things that I'm seeing. One of the things I'm seeing is more honest conversations and bringing things that may have formerly been taboo out of the shadows. So for example, speaking about side hustles and embracing this topic, which previously was hidden or kept below the radar. Another thing is that more people are subsidizing their income with freelance work or side hustles. And with this remote working, it doesn't matter if you're in Twin City, Miami, Toronto, wherever, you can still be in Zoom meetings, send emails. It doesn't, I don't think we're ever going to return to the office like we did before. So that's a trend that's really a disruption that is that I don't think anyone is missing out on that one. The other trend that I see is with regard to our companies, and as we seek to innovate or pivot, as we see the customers' needs changing, different things happening, our companies are leaning on freelance workers. And rather than having a long-term commitment of a permanent employee, companies are having to look at what is the scope of a project. It's forcing this discipline and to get proposals, to get new skills or new resources without necessarily having to have a permanent employee. It's easier to try something, have a project for 2 to 3 months, have someone work there, and then depending on how it goes, then go to the next step with that contractor or not, depending on how it's working out. And then the last trend that I'm seeing, which is it's a sad one for me, is this, I think sad for everyone, is this trend of fear and anxiety and the knock on to mental health across the region because of this disruption. So while the jobs are disrupted due to the changing business landscape or COVID, there's a lot of fear. And I also see younger people that are purposefully not choosing to enter the workplace. So you have this fear of the disruption of traditional work. I don't want to generalize too much, but it can be maybe older people or people that have been in a secure job for a number of years. And then I see this sort of juxtaposition where young people are like, I actually come into a traditional job. I don't want to have this. I am going to protect my work-life balance. And they're actually choosing from the get-go to be gig workers. So those are some of the trends that I'm seeing, Odds. I'll pass it back to you.
Great. Thank you, Julie. Yes, so certainly, you spoke about flexibility. I love the part about the more honest conversations. And I think part of it's even in terms of individuals, even themselves assessing what it is they want, right? Because when you spoke about that, I know one of the latest things happening now is this whole thing about the great resignation, where people want more flexibility. They no longer want this traditional 9 to 5. So I really love how and you've set the stage nicely, because I want to now go across to Aaisha, because part of this discussion is about this gig economy. And so people, the term may be new to some people. So Aaisha, maybe can you speak to us a little bit about what exactly is a gig economy? And I know that you recently had an article, your organization posted an article around this. What is it exactly?
Sure, Audra, and thank you so much for having me. Thank you for being on this call. It's really a pleasure to be here. And I just want to welcome everyone, all the panelists and the entire audience as well. So going into the gig economy and sort of expanding on what Julie, just described. And of course, I'm going to put it in my own words and say what the gig economy represents for me. And the best way, I've thought about this, and the best way that I could describe the gig economy for me is freedom. I think it's really realizing that you can own your own time and realizing that you really have the power to do so. And for me specifically, or if anyone is a night owl like me, waking up very early mornings are always very, very, very difficult. So the gig economy from that perspective represents flexibility, because you can now wake up 9 a.m., you could get the job done, you could stop, head to the gym. This is a typical day for me technically. And you could now come back and continue to work as you see fit. I really prefer late nights instead of early mornings. And from that perspective, I am able to own my own time, do all the things that I want to do, and still be able to get the job done and deliver. So the gig economy is sort of like a freelancing space, which really allows persons to be able to, based on the skill set that they have to offer, really allows persons to be able to capitalize on getting jobs and providing services to persons in search of those services. Of course, it's not a walk in the park, so I'm not going to try to make it sound like a walk in the park in any way. The reality is you have to have discipline. You have to have, I would say, a great work ethic, and you have to have a lot of drive. because the gig economy, it's no longer a supervisor making sure you get the job done or a manager making sure you get the job done. The onus is really on you, and you wanting to perform, you seeing yourself as a brand, and you really wanting to deliver value to your customers at the end of the day. So, you know, if you really have the right work attitude, if you imagine yourself doing freelancing type jobs and really being in an environment with other like-minded individuals, then I would say definitely, you know, the gig economy is a place for you. So my best words to describe the gig economy would be freedom, flexibility, and overall fun.
Great, I love that. The 3 Fs, freedom, flexibility, and fun. I love that. So I would like, Elena, could you jump in here? So Aaisha shared, you know, her perspective on it, you know, so I wanted to hear from you a little bit about your perspective, and Aaisha would have shared so many benefits. So maybe so many benefits, and maybe touch a little bit, any additional benefits you see, and any challenges or any things that people need to be mindful of.
Good morning, everyone. I'm coming in third, so thanks for the time. Thanks to all the attendees for giving us this hour. We have a great group of ladies here who have walked the walk instead of just doing the talk, you know. But to be extremely real and as transparent with you, the freelancing or the gig space, we've been doing this for a while, you know. It's the side hustles, and I lean away from the term side hustles, but we have, you have been doing this for years. Our grandparents have been doing this, selling tulum, making sugar cake, doing ice cream, you know. But one of the true benefits, and I think there's an economist called Thomas Friedman, and he says the world is flat, right? With the pandemic, trust and believe. It is as flat as a piece of paper right now. So the fluidity and how transient a resource based in the Caribbean, based right here in Trinidad, could be, that is one of the huge benefits. You are now able to tap into a global marketplace, the global workforce, without even leaving the comforts of your home, without leaving your kids, without leaving a 9 to 5. So really and truly, the gig economy or the gig model is one where you can capitalize on your skills in a much wider space. Also, in the 21st century, knowledge is so easy to access. So the great thing is that, yes, let's say, for instance, you are within the tech space, right? For 15 years, you've known tech. It is so very easy to now upskill again without leaving, without needing a visa, without doing a PCR test. You know, it's so much easier for you to upskill and become the worker, or become the resource, or become the independent consultant that you wanted to be all along. And even if you did not want to be, you look at the market and you see that, okay, there's an increase in, this is where the market is moving towards. What are the steps? What is the curriculum path that is needed for me to become this person, to become this resource, and for me to tap into? So yes, the 3 Fs for Aaisha: freedom, fun, and what's the other one? I can't remember the other one. Freedom, fun, and flexibility.
And
yes,
freelance, right?
Yeah, because that is the point of all of this. So right now we have been forced. The pandemic and the economic constraints have somewhat forced us to think outside of the box. But please rest assured, Trinidad, we're not a guinea pig right now. Everyone has been doing the freelancing. If you have done Uber, if you've done Airbnb, yes, that is part of the gig economy. You know, TT rideshare, you're part of the gig economy right now. But you have to also open up your thinking and realize that there's so many opportunities outside the constraints of what we know. Now, the flip side of that, work-life balance. Forex is very enticing, you know, so the money is out there, the opportunities are out there. So some persons may try to push and get as much as they can in a very short period of time. You are now a brand. I should have made mention of this. You are your own brand. So the quality you are putting out there, it sticks with you. So you get 1 star, on any of our platforms, it sticks with you. So you have to invest in yourself, you have to know your space, you have to be learned. And I think that is a really important part. So the fun, the flexibility, and I don't know why she didn't say finances, because that Forex is good too. But yeah, it's a whole new world. It's a whole new world. And we need to just really tap into it.
Great. Thank you so much, Elena. And I loved, you added some additional opportunities that this presents. But as you said, you're making it real, right? As well. So there are these opportunities, you can work remotely for any company. You can do, as we said, gig is not a new thing. You're right. It's been around. So, for persons who are delivery drivers, persons working in a job, but you're good at mechanic, you have a skill. So this has been around for a long time. So I want to now circle back to something Julie spoke about earlier as we continue the conversation about making it real. So Julie, you mentioned a fourth F, well, besides Elena's finances, the fair. And I want to come back to the fair because yes, many persons have grown up in traditional jobs and we are now saying expand our mind, upskill, step into this new whole world. But the fair is real, right? Because people probably thinking, are thinking, I have a mortgage, I have these things to do. I haven't done this more custom traditional work. So Julie, yesterday when we were having a conversation, you have mentioned a survey, that you recently saw. Could you talk a little bit, tell us what the survey was and what was the findings that you saw in that survey?
Absolutely, thanks, Odds. So this was to do with, again, investing in some research as we planned the direction for how we would support entrepreneurs or support this disruption to traditional work. And we commissioned a survey. So we would have got someone as their gig work. They offered the service of doing this research. And it was a Caribbean-wide survey to the general public. And the question we were asking was after their current job or wherever they were now, what was next for them? And of that, 27% responded that they wanted to have their own small business, 18% wanted to be a gig worker, and 15% said that they would grow their side hustle. What was really interesting as well, though, was there was an overarching trend that showed the fear, and it was interesting because it was like the fear mixed with the excitement of making the move. So, so a major consideration, particularly with those wanting to go into the gig economy, was this fear about financial stability. From the survey and then other work that we've done, the areas that we're working with Nudge to support is really in developing this business acquisition skills. So if you're scared of becoming a gig worker, if you're scared to make this move, then what's the skill that might reduce this fear? So what we're coming up with is business acquisition skills or marketing of services. Another really important thing is budgeting financially and also time management. Another thing that came up, and it was in the research, but I also find I'm seeing it across the group, maybe not widely, but it is there, is a sort of a sadness or people not finding meaning in the job that they're doing. It's a job. They turn up at work. And so there's this, it's like this double-edged sword. On the one hand, people are not loving or enjoying, and I'm not saying, I am a bit of an idealist, but I'm also a realist too. And every day isn't necessarily a walk in the park, but it is pretty sad if 80 or 90% of your time you're not happy to get up in the morning to go to your job. And so you mix that then with a fear of, well, if I don't have this job, what am I going to do? And I won't be able to pay my bills, or I won't be able to educate my children. And so I think that's one of the things that with Nudge and with the work that we're doing, and even in a webinar like this, it's to say, there is light. Look within. Aaisha said it, it's the freedom and the responsibility, the flexibility, but to look within and really understanding yourself and what your purpose is, because when you're clear on that, that's going to give you the tenacity and the perseverance when it gets tough with either with your job or with the gig working that you're doing, the service that you're offering. So the research, just to close off, if anyone is interested in seeing that, please reach out to me. We have a summary of it. And it's really just highlighting the areas where people are sort of looking to do their next piece of work, what that would be, and then some insights into what's kind of stopping that and how can we offer things that might support people that are looking to take that next step, but are just not sure on how to do it. Hope that's helpful, Odds.
No, very helpful. And thanks for that, Julie. Yes, because I mean, we know that the fear is real. We understand that there's so much disruption, so many things going on. And in the midst of this, a lot of psychologists and different business speak about, as I was saying earlier, this sort of unsettling that people are feeling, one, because of the environment, and two, because they're at a stage where, well, I want something different, but as we said, that fear sticks in, kind of comes in there. And, just to share that, I was reading this article and it was saying the Bureau of Labor Statistics estimated that 55 million people in the US were gig workers in 2017, making up 36% of the workforce, and many economists were thinking that 80% of the workforce by 2030 would be gig workers, so this thing that has existed since before, it's growing in popularity and gaining momentum because of some of the benefits. So I want to now touch on, so our two ladies here, they both have their organizations offer platforms. So, and what's interesting is that we have, so Elena does a traditional job, and then she still has a business. So she straddles both. And when you were speaking, Julie, and I was thinking about the fear, I was thinking about, we're not telling people just let everything go and just jump into it, right? There's an opportunity to transition. So ladies, you and Elena and Aaisha, you have made that exciting step moving to the business or the owner quadrant, right? Both of you being CEOs of startup. Well, Aaisha is a CEO, and Elena is the CTO, but a co-founder of her business that provides a space for individuals who have a skill from which they could earn income. So Elena, I want to start with you, as the CTO of Workii and co-founder. I want you to share with us about your company, about your platform, the nature of your business, as it relates to this topic we're discussing. And then after that, I will ask Aaisha to share. So Elena.
Okay. So Workii is, and I had this all planned out because I've said this 50 million times to different stakeholders. But I think it's important for the 70 folks and everyone else who's going to be listening to this later on to truly understand the vision and the mission behind Workii. Now, we took a step back. This was birthed during the pandemic. So we had to take a step back and we realized that folks were hungry. There was a lot of displacement. You had lockdowns, multiple lockdowns, parallel lockdowns. And so we stepped back and realized that there's somehow we needed to consolidate the human capital. And I think many times the IP that's attached to our people goes unrewarded. So we came together, myself and my co-founder, Shaylee Lee-Wing, we came together and we invested on a digital platform which allows for just that. You have the core of any platform such as this is, you have your freelancers. So you create your profile, and then you have the clients who are looking for jobs. Now, we have pivoted, and you would realize that as a company, as a human being during the pandemic, as an employee, as a gig worker, the need to pivot, to take a step back and realize, okay, is this working? Is this approach working? Is a 9 to 5 for me? Is gig working for me? We really had to take a step back, and we pivoted several times to really address the needs and the opportunities that were available. So we have 3 main components, and this is the obvious placement. So we do talent acquisition. This is where we have a matching functionality within the platform itself. So if you have X number of skills and this job requires these skills, we put it together and we send you off, right? On top of that, we took a step back and the world is flat. In the back of my mind, the world is flat, right? So a lot of our global clients were looking for certain skill sets. Some of these skill sets did not exist within Trinidad and Tobago, unfortunately. This could be due to brain drain, this could be due to the exposure. And so our Workii Academy allows for the upskilling of to get you from, so if you're a business analyst right now and you're trying to respond to a data scientist position, there's a curriculum path that helps you throughout, all accredited. And then finally, we realized in the most realist way, some folks cannot eat while they're studying. Some folks cannot eat while they're waiting for a job to come through. So we have a rewards program. And this is where we have therapists, part of our network that really treats the mind. We have gyms, so you get membership discounts, for instance. It's across the board. So it's a more holistic approach. It's a community that we're trying to build. And I think this resounds with Aaisha as well. It's really about community building, taking care of our people as well, but also opportunity and exposure. This siloed approach to this is mine, or, Trinidad, so we stay in Trinidad. There are a lot of opportunities that we've realized that are here, that are regional as well as global, that our people can capitalize on. And we just made it as digitized and as sexy as possible on workii.net. 2 eyes, what's on the side. Yeah. And please don't sing the song, the Workii song, because they may sue us. So, right?
I love it.
Great. So I think I'll jump in. I could go ahead and jump in right there.
Yes,
right?
yes, Aaisha, please jump in so we can understand with your platform as well.
Thank you so much. So I'll start by saying I myself am a freelancer, right? After exiting corporate after many, many years, I don't want to say the number of years, but many, many years. Hello?
Yeah, we're hearing you.
We're hearing you.
Okay. Sorry. Yes, so after exiting corporate, I myself being a freelancer, there was a need to be able to position myself and position the skill set or the service that even I was offering within a much bigger, wider marketplace. And my co-founder, Nisa Natihari, and I, we're both accountants by profession. And even within the accounting field, you will find that, okay, there are many different elements within accounting at the end of the day. And still, we weren't solely and strictly focused on accounting because we do have a balance of operational experience, business development, and strategy as well. So, it was a direct problem that we faced, and we realized the need to, one, connect people with opportunity, and the need to really position yourself in the marketplace and zoom in on the skill set that you want to offer. Because many people will come to us, interested in getting an accountant for different types of services. Bookkeeping, for example. But bookkeeping may not necessarily be a service that we want to focus on. We may be more interested in financial modeling, for instance. We may be more interested in tax, budgeting, forecasting, that type of thing. And so what Skillpik does, Skillpik really offers you the opportunity to come and offer your skill set, that skill that you want to focus on, to a wider market. Skillpik for us is a movement. It's about bringing solutions to real problems. It's about connecting real people to real opportunity. In its simplest form, Skillpik is a skills marketplace where you can come onto the platform and you can buy any skill or you can sell any skills. So our customer base is twofold. We have persons interested in seeking skills and we have persons interested in offering skills. And what we do, we connect both persons to opportunities, I should say persons and organizations really, to these types of opportunities. So as a service provider, you really have a platform to come and build your brand and showcase yourself. Whether you're a freelancer, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether it's a side hustle for you. And I would say, Julie mentioned the fair aspect of things. And the reality is not everyone can set out to be an entrepreneur at the end of the day. Some persons may be interested, but there may be a fair element, taking that step from moving full-time corporate to now, being on my own. So Skillpik is a platform that offers you the space to come and really be able to, whether you want to do it as a side hustle, whether you were not interested in these conventional type roles and you really just want to jump in straight into the freelancing space and into this whole gig economy. Skillpik is a place that allows you to be able to do this. And your skills can be as simple as filling out a visa application form, we say, or it could get more and more and more complicated as developing a website or developing a mobile app. What we do, we draw the attention to skills, because I think to a great extent, people tend to overlook their skill set and not realize that, there is a skill that I can provide and I can reach a much bigger and broader, wider market. And people are interested in acquiring this skill set and are willing to pay for it too. So I could actually offer the skill set and earn an income while doing so.
Great, wow. I love that. I really love that, you described it as a movement, on a place where it's not necessarily that I just have to just end this job, but I can be working and I can do this thing using my skills, earning income, right? So I want to ask Julie. Julie, I think can you jump in here? Anything you'd like to add to what both Aaisha and Elena are saying?
Thanks, Odds. I guess as I'm listening, and when we were practicing, whether it was yesterday or the day before, and talking about gig working, I can't remember. I think it may have been Elena mentioned something about not corporate work shaming. I don't know if it was Elena.
Yeah, the 9 to 5 shaming. Yeah,
the 9 to 5 shaming, and I think that's really. I think I kind of like just to present that as well, because I do think that many people on our audience today may be 9 to 5, or I always think with corporate life, it's it's never 9 to 5. It might be 7 until 6, and then you're turning on your laptop again in the evening. So it's not. There's I do sometimes think that there's a dated view of even a job that I don't know that anyone gets to start and stop when they go into the office, because we're not even in the office quite a lot of the time. And but I just think that there's an opportunity as work is disrupted in even practicing some of the skills that you might have as a freelancer, and thinking of the scope of certain projects that you might have at work. Having this whole discipline with the empowerment. We may do scorecards at work, your annual scorecards. You might have objectives, certain objectives during the year. And that in a way is how you might work as a gig worker, because you're sort of putting a scope, you have a very clear objective, you manage your time to deliver on that objective, and that helps you to then complete your scorecard, which would translate into whatever incentive is tagged to that objective. I'm just saying all of that because I think in corporate life and in business, we're doing more and more inter-department collaborations on projects, which then have a finite time span. And when we know ourselves and the skills that we can offer to these, whether it's committees or projects, you just get to know yourself better, and that can help you to practice if it is that you are considering that you might want to go into gig working. And even if you don't want to go into gig working, it is just a way of growing yourself and getting more clarity on the skills that you can offer outside of what might be your traditional job. And then the last thing on that was, and again, back to this thing that that I think about a lot, when people are not happy in their job and they're not feeling fulfilled. I think, Audrey, you introduced the term to me about presenteeism. It's easy absenteeism, you're not coming to work because, Monday after Monday, you have long weekends. That's easy to see when there's absenteeism, but this presenteeism, when you're physically there, but you're not engaged mentally, emotionally into the work that you're doing. And that's harder to measure. But by opening your eyes, by actually caring for the people that you work with, you'll see that they're not being fulfilled. I do believe that everyone has something to bring, whether to their job, to give of their life. And how can we, without judgment, encourage people to find that joy in life, which may sometimes mean changing a job or doing something differently, but awakening something within them that they can offer to bring joy to their life. I've said a lot. I'll pause there, Odds, and hand back to you.
No, Julie, I really, really thank you for that, because I totally agree. I know, in the work that we do, and I even think about Massy's purpose, about transforming lives, and we want to have a space where people feel empowered and what they're doing is fulfilling, right? So I certainly agree with what you're saying there, and that this new environment creates an opportunity, even if you start off doing it part-time and then moving fully into that, the worst thing, and we see it in the statistics globally, there's a number of employees that are disengaged at an organization when they do employee engagement surveys, right? Huge numbers, so is there an opportunity for persons to pursue what they really want to do, their passion, the things that excite them, and still be able to maintain their families and to pay their bills, right? That's really important. So I really want to thank you for sharing that. So we have some questions coming in, and so I'm going to read the first question. So the first question is about, what about low-level positions? Someone that may be skilled in packing a shelf. How does Skillpik or Workii make me an additional $100 per night packing shelf? So ladies, I don't know which one of you want to take it. So there's a concern. This is the job I do. I pack shelves. What is the available for low-level positions?
I could start. So like I said before, we would have pivoted somewhat. We started off everything for everyone. So we would have had ACE repairmen, we would have had persons who would be packing shelves, and on the same platform, we would also have consultants and data scientists, and all the way up to CEOs or potential CEOs. We would have deviated somewhat because we are now looking at more exportable resources, meaning that we could pick you up from Trinidad and move your skill set to the US, to the Ukraine or India or where have you. However, there are cases where a lot of our clients within the manufacturing space, because we do have a good relationship with the TTMA, for instance, they would basically be posting jobs that require warehouse attendees or floor attendants, for instance, and your skill set. So what you have to do to the poster, I see it's anonymous. What you have to do is take a step back and realize that your skill is not just packing shelves. You need to package, look at yourself as a brand, and what else do I do? And there was a study that actually showed that when responding to jobs, we undervalue ourselves, not monetarily, but we don't put enough weight on other skills that we have. So if you pack shelves every single day, that is time management, that is hand-eye coordination, that is great motor skills. Don't just zoom in on the task or the function, right? Within the gig economy, within this type of thing that we've been talking about all morning, you have to see yourself as a brand. You have to see yourself as an independent contractor / independent consultant. So yes, you could come on Workii, you could come on Skillpik, and you could find a job that pays an extra $100 a night. The job postings are going to be there, right? But take a step back and realize that you are more than this one task, right? That's Aaisha.
Elena, I actually think you did an excellent job at covering it. So
Okay,
I'll
let's go home. Time to.
Can I jump in?
Sure, Julie, you jump in.
I want to jump in. I think I loved what Elena was saying about all of the different skills. I think packing shelves is, organizational skills. And I just wanted to share for Nudge, if you're familiar with the market stalls that we have, we actually have, we rely on freelance merchandisers to help us. And the whoever the person is that said, a low level position, these merchandisers who are basically packing and organizing the shelves, there are definitely people who are giving it their all, they're loving it, they're understanding the brand story of our Nudge entrepreneurs, and then they're able to share those stories with the customers. It has made a difference in the success of these businesses. So I think there's also something Elena is sort of saying about the branding of yourself. You could say, I just pack shelves, or it could be like, because of the work that I do, the way I manage, organize, this is changing the business and the success. I am supporting the success of this brand. And for some of our Nudge entrepreneurs, that's meaning that they're going from themselves just doing this production to actually being able to employ another person because they have to make more products. So it's an important freelance role of merchandising. I don't know if that's something that either Workii or Skillpik would have, but I think merchandising is a gig job that can be done, whether it's a daily and hourly something that people look for. We look for that with Nudge, and we look for that for our some of our entrepreneurs that are part of our community.
Great. Thank you, Julie. So again, well, we have two questions, and the first one I want to touch on, this one actually came in after, but it came up when Elena and Aaisha were speaking. So the question from Lisa is, would it be okay for someone to reach out to you to explore opportunities? And I know it would certainly be a definite yes, but let them hear it from you.
Yeah, I think the answer to that is definitely, give us a call, reach out to us. In fact, you could share your contact and we will reach out to you directly. Because I think, we're having a lot of conversation around persons recognizing themselves as a brand. And sometimes persons really need help in knowing how to position themselves. I remember speaking with one of our service providers who signed up, and they just sort of created a minimum profile, and they didn't include a description for themselves and for what they're offering. And the feedback was, I'm really trying to think about what do I want to say about myself? Because funny enough, that is a difficult question. It's a very easy question, but it's still something that is so difficult that people don't realize, okay, what do I really want to say about me? How do I present myself at the end of the day? How do I build my brand? So, the answer to the question is definitely reach out to both of us. And, we can help you position yourself, and we can give you, tips on upskilling yourself and really just about the market and how it will be best to connect you with opportunities.
Agreed. One thing that we've gotten so accustomed as employees or traditional workers, more so, to leverage our CV or resume. So we would drop everything we've ever done, ever, on a page or 2 pages and send that out. When you have to create a profile where you are highlighted or featured, or do you know how difficult it is when Audra asks, send a little blurb? I'm like, I'm sending you my resume. You go ahead and you figure it out. That is what Aaisha is talking about there. A lot of the times, you don't have, so if it is you're an individual or independent contractor consultant, you won't have a logo per se. So you have to get a picture. That is simple little things, a high-res pic, for instance, because our research has shown that putting a face to a profile makes a difference. Some people want to actually work with, not just a generic blurred out square. Being really concise with what you can offer as an independent consultant, as an ACA repairman, as so again, we can help you guys carve out your space within the platform itself. But there's some things that you have to do. Come with a logo, come with a good pic, work with your resume as well. And we'll probably be able to help you, to guide you. It's usually like 70 words or less. So try to change a 2-page resume to 70 words. And yeah, but I've put my, Aaisha, you should probably put yours as well. I put my email address and Workii's website. So you all can reach out to me.
Great. Thanks, ladies. So we have some other questions coming in and a comment. So let me go to the next question. Right. What advice would you give someone who's new to freelancing their skill set? So this is a two-part question. So the first part, what advice would you give someone who's new to freelancing their skill set? And the second part is how to determine the cost attached to their skill set. Aaisha, do you want to start on this one?
Sure. You said advice that we'll give someone who's starting off in the freelancing space.
Yes, who's new to freelancing their skill set, correct.
Okay, so I mean, the first piece of advice I'll give you is visit skillpik.com, right? But seriously, starting off, I would say I'll go back to that brand conversation because you really have to recognize that you are no longer an employee, you are now a service provider. And what does being a service provider means? It means that you really have to be able to bring quality and bring value to your customers. And how do you demonstrate that you are capable of doing this? It comes first and foremost with how do you showcase yourself? So you really have to focus on building your brand, on upskilling yourself, and not only just doing it, but being able to really put pen to paper, being able to demonstrate it. I've seen, I saw a comment recently, you know, that someone posted, you know, they identify as an introvert, and but penning things to paper is usually so great, but being able to speak about it, you know, it doesn't necessarily come out right. You have to be able to speak about it. You have to be able to pen it. You really have to be able to know how to showcase yourself. You don't want to sort of be great at doing something, but because you fall short on demonstrating it, or because you fall short on showcasing it, then you are unable to sort of get the jobs that you want out there. Not because of competence or expertise, but really because of not positioning yourself as a brand. So first and foremost, that would be, again, my advice to any freelancer. The other thing I would say is really understanding that it's a competitive market, but I mean, that's not just the freelancing market, that's the entire job market on the whole. And with the freelancer, with all the F's that we described before, the freedom, the flexibility, the fun, the finances, everything else, you have to be able to sort of identify, okay, what works for you, what routine works for you. Whether you're an early morning person, whether you're a night person, you know, figure out what routine works for you and then position yourself in a way where you can be as effective as possible, because you have to get the job done, you have to deliver. This is what is going to be your bread and butter at the end of the day. And nobody is going to come with a big stick over you to make sure you get the job done. So the onus is now on you to hold yourself accountable, and you really have to recognize the importance of doing that and really be able to sort of drive your own interests and bring value to that customer.
Great, thank you so much, Aaisha. Julie, is there something that you wanted to add before we continue?
I guess what I'm hearing, what's really standing out to me in this conversation, is the accountability point that Aaisha emphasized, and I'm also, you know, practicing that at work. You know, I don't know that I've got a specific point, but I think there's a romanticism sometimes about entrepreneurship or gig working, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to have my own time. But what I'm hearing, as Aaisha is highlighting, is like, and it's hard work, and you have to have the discipline, and you have to hold yourself accountable. So it's no, I don't really have anything. It just really has me thinking about that accountability point. There's the skills, there's knowing yourself, how you market yourself, and then also this holding yourself accountable for your time. Time management keeps coming up as well.
Yes.
Audra, one thing I want to, can I add one thing? I'll be quick.
Sure.
You see this fear that we have because you're listening to us, right? And you're saying that, okay, we have to be accountable. You have to make sure you know yourself. You have to know your skill set. This could be somewhat paralyzing. Like if you sit back, you will never get started, right? The thing is, you have to jump in. There are a lot of opportunities. You could check both of our platforms. You could check the wider platforms, and there's some very low level, some copywriting, for instance. They want you to translate something. They want you to proofread something. Test out the waters and see if this is your cup of tea. See if a deadline that is looming over your head, that's going to impact your future work is for you. Because if you sit back and what they say, paralyzed by preparation or paralyzed by, you're going to sit there and you're going to think yourself out of it. And you're going to be like, no, this gig work is really not for me. I can't do one. I don't like 9 to 5. I can't work in the nighttime as be sleepy. I have to go to the gym. Try it out. Because that's how I did something. I jumped on one of the global ones. And I think they asked for some code or something like that real quick. And I got paid for that. That is before my mind was within a freelancing space. You know, so just take the risk while you still have the comfort and security of, you know?
Great. I love that, Elena, because again, you know, people are always concerned about having some sort of stability and a sort of safety blanket, right? So I love the example that you shared. While you're still employed, you know, try it, you know, start small. You know, we're not saying just go all in. So we have a couple comments in the chat. I'm just going to read out. So Candice said, I started a physical business pre-COVID and had to close it down subsequently. So I know there is a fear in me coming back in this space, but I love the transition as a freelancer. Thank you so much for this forum. Very informative. I will reach out for guidance. All right. So thank you, Candice.
Can I comment on?
Sure. Totally.
I just want to that thing about, you know, she had to close the business. What Candice is saying, she closed the business because of COVID. I just want to congratulate her. I mean, there's so many people that have had to do that, and I would you know, I would love if there's a way of Candice sharing what she learned, because again, Elena saying, just step in, try it. I think it's this stepping into it. The most successful, isn't there a famous Michael Jordan thing? I missed however many baskets, but he's the best. And he has also missed the most baskets because he practices so much. So I just want to say, well done to Candice for trying it. Failure is that's not failure, you know. Congrats to you for trying it. And how much did you learn? And if there's a way that you could share that with us, that you would do differently the next time, we could highlight that somehow.
Yes, true. I love that. Yes. You know, there's nobody that has been successful that didn't have what they considered a failure that really was a growth opportunity or learning opportunity, you know, to get it better each time. So, and
don't wait too long to realize that it's growth. Don't stick in that space of failure that, oh, I didn't succeed. Watch me take a step back right now and reap the benefits and reap the little learnings now. Trust me, I've failed a lot of times, you know, so.
Thanks, Elena. All right, so as we continue, so this was an anonymous attendee, again, just supporting what we spoke about. Many times persons are so stifled in the business place, the job, that all they can see is the income versus the basic skill set, you know, you're applying. And then they had a question about packaging yourself, you know, but Elena, you spoke to that in terms of the packaging, you and Aaisha, packaging yourself and your branding. So I know we covered that. And then let's see, James is asking if this recording can be shared. So definitely, James, a recording will be made available after the webinar. All right, so look out for it. Let's see, for Aaisha.
There was a second part to the question actually that we started answering earlier. And the second part was around pricing and sort of how do you know,
right.
how to, I guess, price your service that you're offering. And I know we're running out of time, yeah, but I just wanted to quickly touch on that, because I think to a great extent, we sort of tend to be very secretive where pricing is concerned. And I think that one of the great things that platforms like Workii and like Skillpik are doing is really helping persons to be transparent about the pricing that is there in the market, so that now you would know how to sort of position yourself and position the service that you are offering based on market prices. You can, one, help inform the market, and then you can, two, peg yourself against the markets at the end of the day, based on what is out there and based on the skill set that you are having. So I just wanted to quickly touch on that.
Agreed.
Thank you, Aaisha, because I know it's a question people normally have, right? How do you know, going back to brand and how I value myself? How do I know what's the right brand, and how do I get information to know in terms of setting that pricing? All right, so we have time for one more question. Oh, just 1 minute. So this was from Catherine at the supermarket. How do you deal with a cash or merchandiser requesting a 9-to-5 schedule to take on a part-time job outside the organization?
That is definitely Julie's.
Yeah, it is. So Julie, just any thoughts on that? What would your advice be?
Hey, you know, we have our employment contracts, and as long as you're doing your work that you're contracted to do, that you're being responsible to the employer, after that, it's your time to do with as you like. You know, and I think that I would always encourage the conversations. I would encourage the conversations with supervisors, with managers. And so yeah, I don't see that there's, I mean, part of me is like, you know, I don't want the talent to leave Massy. I want Massy to be really successful. And I want our, you know, I want us to be fully engaged in our work at Massy so that we can just really bring our full selves and impact through the purpose and the direction that Massy is going in. But if it is that you want to do a part-time something, I don't see that there's anything in our contracts that say that you can't work outside of the commitment that you've made as an employee to the group. I don't think there's anything that says it has to be a single employer. So yeah, that's my view on it.
Thanks, Jules. And I know we're out of time, but I'll just take, if y'all can just indulge me with 1 minute, just to add to what Julie's saying as well. So for instance, I know in the supermarket industry that their shifts and their scheduling, and any supervisor or manager that's sorting out the shift would also have to take in consideration the other employees, you know, so that if, as Julie is saying, you work in industry where, you know, that you're in an organization where it is that there are flexible shifts, then as Julie said, you know, it's a conversation around what's the solution, you know, because in the environment in industry, 9-to-5 may not be how this particular business operates. So again, it's the conversation and then just sharing with the employee, you know, the other considerations. Not that we don't want to encourage you, but there are these other considerations as well. And maybe what is a possible viable solution that you can come with as we kind of help you co-create your future. All right, so, you know, time flies when you're having fun. You know, I'm hearing a second rounds, you know, somewhere in my mind, I'm feeling that the conversation has been so rich and there've been so many questions that I know people would be really excited if maybe we had a part 2. Big hint, right? Ladies, I'm looking at you, but I'm not looking at you. So as we've come to the end of this webinar, I really, really would like to thank you all. Thank you, our panelists. Thank you, our attendees. Thank you, our tech team, Smart Vibrations, and most of all, thank you, my MLI team and family. So ladies and gentlemen, the gig economy is here to stay, and we hope that through this conversation that you've heard options, the options that are available to you. You've definitely heard 2 wonderful and amazing platforms, 2 ladies who have stepped out and are doing great things in response to this environment. And we want to encourage you, to be the captains of your own individual ships as you chart your way forward. You've heard conversations around your brand and really knowing your brand. So start with that. How would you sell yourself? How would you, communicate the worth that you bring? Because we all bring worth. And at the end of it, how do you find fulfillment in everything you're doing? Because at the end of the day, life is short. So we need to do things that bring us fulfillment. And now is the time, in a very responsible way, of course. So once again, thank you, everybody. We'll see you soon at another one of our Level Up webinar Wednesdays. And remember to keep leveling up. Bye for now, until our next session.